Coming up today on the Prosperity Nation podcast.
The best solution to it, go flourish more. Go get more successful and beat them by being awesome at who you are and what you do, and go for it. Because that's really the only way to win, is get your eyes off them, put it on you, and go fulfill those dreams. Welcome to the Prosperity Nation podcast. I'm Angie.
And I'm Elise.
And we're glad you're here with us today. We have a really interesting show today. We're going to talk about the signs of success. I know Elise is nodding. She's like, yeah, it feels good when you're successful and then all this stuff hits the fan on you. Yeah, so, that's really interesting, the sign of success. Before we jump into that, though, did you have anything interesting happen this weekend, Elise?
I think this is a running joke now because my answer's always no.
Come on.
I feel like you're making fun of me at this point. No, I'm just kidding. I know you're not.
You came in sassy today, and I'm just going to pull that string a little bit.
Well, I mean, obviously we're talking about this topic for a reason. And I just feel like, in my personal life, people are talking about me and I'm doing nothing. I keep my head down and I'm just doing my thing, And I feel like I keep coming up in conversations of other people and,
it's the drama, right? It's like when people are talking about us, that's a good thing.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm not mad because I'm doing absolutely nothing to provoke any of this. I'm doing my thing. And people, for some reason, have attention on me in I don't even know. It's not even a bad thing. And I love it. I'm clearly I'm doing something right. So I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to put all the attention on Elise today. Okay, this is the Elise show.
The Elise show.
I love it.
Yeah.
But it is true when you start to flourish as a person or financially, that's why we always talk about prosperity, because we're talking about flourishing as a person and flourishing financially. And when those two things are rolling, you're on fire, and something does happen, and that is that you attract a lot of people who are excited for you, but you also attract a lot of people who want to take you down in some way, And I think the more successful we are as humans here, and, we see it in the celebrities, we see it everywhere. Yeah. You start to get really successful and you get attacked more. I don't know. There's just something wrong with I think us as humans, we have this mind that's threatened by success and doing good in the world, Yeah,
it's almost it's like a threat, exactly. Threat, insecurity. It's like if they're doing good, that means I'm not, or I don't know what it is, but I don't, without getting into my situation, just for privacy's sake, I'm not doing anything. I don't even know some of these people that are talking about me. And to me, I'm like, well, yeah, you are, because I'm awesome. So, of course.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes, you are.
Right? I mean, I'm clearly doing something right to attract this attention that I'm not even in these people's lives. And yet they're getting all whatever about something that I'm not even,
Hey, Elise, I wish I could say that it was because of our podcast has got millions of followers and you're just like a celebrity and on YouTube and in our podcast, but we're not there yet. But
but when that happens,
energy.
That's going to be so much worse.
That's true. That's true. But, here's the thing is that is true. The more successful you are, then the more you do get those attacks on you. But also the more you have to put up the barriers to keep them away from you.
Absolutely.
And if you know that's coming, then you can set yourself up so that you don't get taken down by it. Because, especially as artists and as creators and as successful people, it's really easy to get our dreams squashed on. And then you start doubting yourself and you start thinking that your thing you're doing isn't really good. And then you kind of start giving up just because of these negative people that start coming out of the woodworks and, putting negative comments on things. But really, the way to overcome that is to just flourish more.
Exactly.
Let's just thrive and flourish more. Yeah, keep doing more of it.
It's the way I see it, it's like when you have haters, you clearly are doing something right because there's people who are taking time out of their day to talk about you.
Right.
It's like they are so bothered by your existence or something. It's like even the Kardashians, like they have a lot of money and they're all over the place, and like it or not, they're doing something right because they're attracting both positive and negative attention. And so it's like they could just be upset about the fact that everyone's saying all these bad things about them and just kind of like succumb and die, or not literally, but just kind of crawl into a little cave. But they're like, I feel like they're doing the opposite. They just keep going.
Yeah. And we can take that, to our everyday lives, which, obviously we're not Kardashians or big and wealthy, famous like that. But it's true on every level. It's true on, the everyday person, the superstar, the megastars, all of that. There's just something about it in the pathway. The more you move up that prosperity ladder, as we've identified different stages that people go through. Well, when you're down low on the ladder, you're actually the one who's being jealous and being envious. And if you find yourself talking about other people or like nagging at others, then maybe, you've got to take a look at that too, that you're actually squashing somebody else's success, because we do it all the time. But we don't have to. It's not necessary. And the more aware you are of it, then, you can change it as well too. But as you move up that ladder, it's there. I think there's a point, Elise, where you start to get higher up on the prosperity ladder. You're doing better as a person. You're doing better financially. And you have to start separating some from your old friends. Your old world, you're moving into a new world. And that's hard, because we want to stay back with our people on the lower rungs of the ladder because we love them, or they're our friends, or they've been there for us for whatever. But as we get more and more successful, some of those could hold us back. And that's kind of hard to confront because, you care about the people, but you just got to be aware of some of the signs, I think, is the most important thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being friends with the people you're with when you were, when you quote had nothing, or, all that. But I think that is a good point. There's definitely a difference between people that maybe are trying to bring you down. And I think, honestly, like I'm not this super successful, whatever, Kardashian, but it always bothered me when I was hanging around people and they would like, why do you work so much? Or can't you just take time off? And like, to me, like, that's a sign. Not that maybe they didn't even mean it in a malicious way, but it's like, let me do my thing. Like, I'm good working in the amount I'm working. I could stop if I wanted to, but I don't, because I want to achieve this. And that's the only way I know how to get there. And you're either on board or get the F out, because I'm going,
Yeah.
So I think it's important to recognize even those little signs that might seem like innocent comments, because now you could internalize that and start thinking like, oh, maybe I am working too much, or,
Right.
And then
In actuality, all you're doing is you got some big goals, and it's going to take some hard work to hit those goals. And a few years from now, you're going to achieve those goals, and those people will still be back there doing the same thing they're doing because they didn't have that drive to actually go figure out what they want in life and go get it. And it does take work. You don't get it for free. It doesn't just come. You know? And I thought those subtle or indirect comments, they don't always have to be intentional. And, like you said, they're usually not. It's just you're starting to see yourself moving up the prosperity ladder. You're starting to flourish more. And now you can start to hear those. Yep. And when you were in it, you don't hear them because you probably were doing it too, on yourself usually. We start to kind of put ourselves down. But as you start to move up, you start to separate, you start to hear these things. But they also start to look differently when you start to really hear them. So, for example, we have to be mindful when we bring on clients of whether when those clients come on, because if they are in a lot of confusion, or if they're really down low where they're hiding and sneaking and maybe even doing some criminal behavior like stretching loan applications or using family credit cards. Yeah, exactly. Well, having those kind of people, even as our clients, even though we want to help them, if we don't get them up that ladder, up that prosperity ladder quickly, then they could become trouble to us too. And it could just be that they're always unhappy with what we do. It could be that they're always in confusion and then they keep changing their mind, and we work really hard to help them on their strategy. And then it turns out they change it, or they never agreed to it, or they don't like it anyway, and they, go and do something totally different. So those signs of kind of bringing down the success can look very different. It doesn't have to be like so blatant and intentional. It can be very subtle.
That's true. You just reminded me actually of a client we had once that was in such kind of like chaos and confusion that it was like everything was overcomplicated. Like everything. There was always like way too much information. When I would ask for one thing, we'd get 50 things.
Right.
None of which, maybe some of it was what I asked for, but it was almost like overload of information. It was so chaotic in that sense that even like the smallest task would somehow turn out to be just so overly complicated. And I actually would find myself when I would try to execute some of these tasks, like getting in such like a head spin of like, wait, I don't know what I'm doing. Blah, 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 like, and it was just like, there were so many things all over the place, but it was such a simple task. And so I think even in that case, like the indirectness of it, I was getting caught up in other people's confusion and it was like bleeding onto me.
Yeah.
And so completing the easiest task would take me 3 times as long as it should have because of that reason. So yeah,
and then you start doubting yourself. You're like, gosh, I'm really smart. Why can't I figure this out? Why is this out?
And then I remember I'd call you. I'm like, I do not understand why this is so complicated. I need someone to help me. Like, can you walk me through this?
If I'm in one of those moods too, I'm like, yeah, we shouldn't do any of this anymore. Let's quit this whole thing. And then I was like, oh, that's a little exaggerated.
Yeah, then I had to talk you off the ledge. No, we're both like on the ledge. Like, do we jump off the ship? Like, I don't know.
Right. Exactly. But that is a really good point. Yeah. I think that's what we're talking about here is not to let other people's, whether that's their attitude or where they are on the ladder or their chaos or
drama.
Confusions, or drama drag your success down because we're really successful here. And so when we take people's chaos on, we have to jump into the chaos for a little while. Right. But if we can't get out of it again, it starts to hurt. We start to feel that.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, you get those like crazies on the line that they can't follow a logic at all. They can't answer, they can't go from point A to point B. And they actually are just so insane. And I mean insane in the sense of sane means that you have a sound mind and you can have logic and you can ask a question and answer a question. That's sanity. But you get these these crazy people on there that are just have this negative motive to try and hurt you, and try to stop you. And those signs are really important to watch out for because you got to handle them fast because they will continue to cause so much trouble to you, your friends, your business, your vendors, everywhere. And it's really important to understand what those signs are and what to do about it. You know what I'm talking about? Those ones that just get on the lines. And then you got to just handle them like quickly.
Yeah, because nothing you do or say, like I know because, and this is the biggest sign for me when that happens is I will get so angry and I'm literally thinking to myself, like, this makes no sense. Like, I don't understand why, blah, blah, blah. Or like, and then I'm like, I need to end this. Like, we need to get as far away from this person as possible because it should make sense. And I think if you're questioning the logic behind something, or if someone is acting that irrational where you're like, I don't get, this doesn't make sense.
Right.
Most people are logical.
That's one of those signs. Yeah. If it doesn't feel right in your stomach, like
probably not.
You leave a conversation and you're like, God, something doesn't feel right. I feel like I just got all twisted up in a tornado. Well, you probably did.
Yeah.
And I had this one client one time. It was a very, very short time, and I didn't really want to help this guy because I could kind of tell that he was gonna cause trouble because he was unhappy with the last person he worked with, and he was fighting with his ex, and it was just that. But he needed his books cleaned up so that he could get it to the attorney or whatever that was, and I spent like 2 weeks trying to clean this, trying to get some sense. It was a disaster between all the money movement, between everything, but he wanted it done right now for a really small amount of money. And I said, look, he's a friend of a friend. I'll help him out. And that's the wrong thing right there. I got halfway into that project, or I got it done as much as I could get it done for what I had. Yeah. And of course he was totally unhappy. Then he started threatening me. He was going to badmouth me on social media and what a terrible person I was. And then I'm like, I'm just going to give you your money back. I don't want to do any work for you anymore. I'm just going to give you anything back you already paid me. Just get off my lines.
Yeah.
And that's like the only way. It was like worth the loss just to clear that noise off because it was just totally irrational.
Yeah. And I think I guess to kind of go back to what we were, the signs of success and to kind of combine that, people like that will come at you, when you are doing well. And I think, kind of the point in this is recognizing when you're attracting that negative attention and not realizing or not taking it as like, this is negative, I suck. It's more of like, I'm actually doing something right. I need to get the negative off of my plate and away from me, but I need to keep going. It's almost like remove that obstacle. It's almost like you're driving, there's a rock in the way. And instead of just like U-turning, you get the rock out of the street and you like step on the gas even harder and go faster forward,
Flourish more. That's the way to handle it. Yeah. And I think that I don't know if it's just a female thing or what, but this tendency to more want to just help or be nice about it and kind of tiptoe around it or not upset the person and, try to make it go right. But you got to realize that when it is a certain kind of personality that's coming that doesn't have that logic, that's not of a sound mind, that has that insanity, you can't logic with that. You got to just stop the communication with that person. Stop it hard and fast. And I learned my lesson from that experience a few years ago because we had a similar incident earlier this year. And it was like, nope, you're talking to my attorney. You're not even in my email box. I won't have anything to do with you at all. You talk to my attorney. And it completely got all of that insanity out of my world. Yeah, we had to handle it. We had to do it. But I got to talk to my attorney. But the attorney was like, oh my God, this is the craziest, most irrational person I've ever dealt with. And I'm like, thank God you're dealing with it.
Well, that's another thing too, is not only like by dealing with people like that, taking up your just mental energy, but it's also now your time. Yeah. Like, I don't know how, like just even you and I talking about those emails or those things they were saying, that's like hours we spent just talking about this really crappy person that sucked. Right. And then us getting angry about it when we could have just kept working and find new clients. Or there's other clients we've had in the past. It was like, sometimes I feel like people try to make it go right with these types of people. Like they know in their gut that it's not a good fit, but they don't want to lose the money or they don't want to lose the XYZ or whatever they don't want to cause an upset. Like you said, they don't want the bad reviews. But what's interesting is I feel like time after time, 100% of the time, whenever you actually get those people out of the way and kind of say, you know what, I'm going to suck it up and take a hit on the income, it's like immediately within a month, you replace it times X,
Yeah. Yeah.
Always.
That's so true. And that's happened to us over and over again. Every time we try to be nice to a client, we try to help them out, and it drags on and on. But when we cut the ties and like this person is dragging our income lines down, we need to handle it. And we can do it. Most people are normal. They're not as insane as some of those cycles we were talking about. But sometimes the people, it's kind of going back to what we were saying before, it's like that indirectness. They're good people. They're really trying. They really need help. But because they are just so low on the ladder and there's so much in confusion, they're not making enough money, they're overspending, they can't confront anything. They need our coaching program.
They need a different kind of help.
They don't need our CPA help,
They're a little, they need the more education knowledge. They need to figure out where they're going first before we can help them. But and that's what's hard. It's finding the right help. But
and I tell you what, that was one of the lessons that we learned is that's why we developed the prosperity ladder in the first place. Is the better we can identify where somebody is, the better we can match the service to what they need. Because if I'm trying to match everybody to our CFO services and they aren't even making enough money to pay their bills, that's not going to be a good fit. And everybody's going to get stressed out about it. And that's exactly why we just keep carving out, like, what are the different things that each level needs so that it's a better fit all around.
Absolutely. And then we can actually still help them without kind of, because I think, I guess it kind of could go both ways. Like, when you have someone that's that low on the ladder or that is in that confusion and they're causing chaos, and we're trying to push a product on them that maybe is too above where they're at, I'm sure it's not easy for them either, because we're advising them on something that they are like, they don't agree with. It's not in reality.
Reach.
Yeah, it's not there yet. So they're not getting what they need too. So by this way, when someone comes in and really being able to assess where they're at and help figure out what they need first, it's a better way to be able to help them kind of meet them at where they are at, and then bring them up at some point to then get all these other services that we can offer. So,
yeah. So the whole point here that we really want to point out is that as you begin to flourish and prosper, as you begin to get more prosperity, both as a person and as your finances, then you are going to get subjected to people who don't want you to be successful. And most of them are, the intentions are good intentions, but it just is what it is. It's kind of indirect. Once in a while, you're going to get those more aggressive people who are really out to get you, but you can't reason with them.
Take
you just
it as
got
a
to handle
compliment.
it. That's right. Take it as a compliment. You're successful. That's why they're out trying to attack you.
Yep.
And the best solution to it, get them off your lines and then go flourish more.
Exactly.
Like go get more successful and beat them by being awesome at who you are and what you do, and go for it. Because that's really the only way to win, is get your eyes off them, put it on you, and go fulfill those dreams, right?
Exactly. That's why I'm feisty today. So I want everyone else to get feisty about the same thing.
Yeah, let's go. Let's create drama. Let's get people talking about us. That means we're being successful.
We're doing something right.
Yeah.
Well, only in the positive way. Don't do bad stuff.
Yeah,
that will make people talk about you.
Right, that's true.
I'm not advising that.
That's true. At least not always. All right. Well, that's a good place to end for today. We want to hear from you, though. We know the struggles of what it's like when you start to move up the prosperity ladder. And sometimes those struggles snap you back. And I think that's our whole concern here, is that, don't be afraid that when you start to be successful and you start getting negativity from your family or your friends, even the people that you really love and care about, don't drop your success because of that. And you start to hear that negativity. Just with loving kindness, keep succeeding. Keep flourishing. And we want to hear your stories. Like what's happened to you getting to your success level, or what are you afraid of at your next level that you're heading toward?
Yeah, exactly. As always, we'd like to hear from you. It's stories@prosperitynation.com. Go ahead and subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media.
Great. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us today. Follow us on social media for the latest episodes, updates, and more. Like and subscribe to videos from us on YouTube, and find out more at prosperitynation.com. That's it for now. We'll see you next time on the Prosperity